Joining me right now is UFC bantamweight Tony Gravely. What's going on, Tony? How you doing?
Doing great, sir. How about yourself?
Good, man. Good. It's always good to see your face and catch up with you. Let's get into it right away. Last November, you returned to the cage after 10 months. You got the split decision win, your first UFC win. What did you take away from the fight, on both sides of the spectrum, negative and positive?
Um, Obviously, it's great to get that win, and as a fighter that pushes to get better every time, you can kind of be frustrated with yourself for not getting a finish or leaving it that. I didn't think it was a split decision. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, I know I won this fight, and I feel like he felt the same way, just his demeanor afterwards. But we aren't the judges, so our say so really doesn't matter anyway. But I thought that I did enough to win the fight for sure. But you never know, and that's one of those things where it could have been one scorecard away, and I could be on the opposite end, and he just got released. So realistically, I could have been that guy being released, And it's when you think about it like that, it's like, man, I don't ever want to have to be in that scenario again. But I'm always wanting to finish. That fight, I don't think that was the best me, but I'm just happy that I got through it and I did what I needed to do to come away with a win.
Yeah, piggybacking off what you just said, Fretas, he got released, and you dropped your debut, and you're heading into this fight with extra pressure. Did you go over like many mental hurdles, because of the debut loss when you're entering that second fight?
No, not really, because I knew that Brett Johns was a tough opponent. It wasn't like I lost to somebody that shouldn't be there. His only two losses were to Aljamain and Pedro, and those are two really tough guys. Those are the top five in the UFC. So wasn't like he was somebody that wasn't a good fighter. I do think that was a winnable fight, and it was a close fight until he took my back, and it was hard to get out of that body triangle. But it wasn't like I was down on myself for the fact that like, oh, if I don't win this fight, I'm done, type thing. I just kind of I used that as like motivation, and took nothing but positives out of it. And the positions that I got in where I didn't do so well, I've worked on, and I've gotten a lot better in those situations. So nothing bad really came from that fight that I can think of. I use every bit of it as fuel to go into the next fight.
Yeah, because some fighters that could become their worst enemy is just lingering on the loss and then feeling the pressure, extra pressure into their next fight because they work so hard to get into the UFC, and then what they always say, it's hard to stay there.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't luckily I haven't experienced the part of. I've seen people go, and I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. You work so hard to get there. And I know I deserve to be here, and I want to stay here. I want to make my career here, and I want it to be long here. So I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep this position. I know that there are a lot of fighters that would love to be where I'm at and are trying to get to where I'm at. So every time I go out there, I have to prove to the UFC, and also I'm always trying to prove to myself. I'm my biggest critic, and I do this because I enjoy doing this, but I want to be the best that I can be, and I want to keep moving forward, and I want to be eventually make it to where I'm an asset to the company and to MMA, and just build myself up.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, you're making the right moves, and I was looking at 2020. You had two fights, and you're fourth in takedowns, total takedowns at 12. Even with two fights, 12 takedowns is a lot in MMA.
Yeah, it is. That's a lot, and I think Marab might have gotten that in one fight. He's good. I don't know if I guess it's like that's kind of it gets a cool statistic, and then I kind of thought, and I was like, maybe that just means I'm not holding people down enough. I'm not controlling enough. And Pahumpo, my coach Pahumpo, was like, "Yo, what? That's cool, but next year it's gonna be less because you're either gonna take them down and finish them, or they're never gonna get back up." And I agree. That's it's cool to have them on takedowns though. It's a cool statistic and a number to be proud of though.
Well, whenever you face somebody, they're gonna know. They're gonna have that in the back of their mind, like this guy, he could take me down 12 times or 6 times or whatever.
And that's the thing, like, because like I mean, in my whole life, it's with wrestling, it's up and down the whole time. You're up and down. The whole practice for like 3 hours every day for like the past, I don't know, almost 20 years. Not quite 20, but almost. So I can do it as many times as I need to get the job done.
Before you got the call for April 17th, what was your training like? Did you decide to, focus on something in particular, or was it just regular training for you?
It was regular training. It was making sure I stay in shape, and not just for me, but there's always people in the gym that at my weight that are preparing for fights, and I'm fortunate and honored that a lot of those fighters wanted me, like they wanted me to spar with them because they thought that there was something that they could benefit from, like my wrestling, and so I had to make sure like I was in shape and I was in the gym in order to help these people prepare for their fights. So it was like, and you never know when an opportunity will come, and COVID kind of helped me with that. I had to turn down one fight because our gym was closed and I couldn't do anything. And I could have been doing more on my own, but I don't ever want to be in that situation again where you have to turn down an opportunity because you aren't ready because you just didn't prepare yourself. So I refuse to have to do that again.
Being involved in, other people's camps, do you feel like that allows you to maybe possibly take a short notice fight if that opportunity comes in the future?
I think so because when I help when someone asks me to spar with them or grapple with them, I treat it as if I know that I'm gonna, for example, help Adriano. I know the night before I'm gonna make sure I get good rest. I treat it like a fight, not because I'm trying to like beat up Adriano or anything, but it's because I want to give the best of me that I can, because so he can be the best him. So when I compete with these people, when I work with these people or spar, whoever asks me to grapple or spar with them, I need to make sure that I'm getting the right sleep, I'm eating well, so that way when I come in, I can give 120% so they can prosper as well. So it does help. As long as I'm doing that, it keeps me, it makes me hold myself accountable and always be in shape, not just for me, but for them.
Before we went live, we were talking about Adriano. He's gonna fight later on tonight. You're gonna be watching that fight, and you mentioned him. You're involved in his camp, and man, he's been doing pretty much the same thing as you. He hasn't fought for 2 years now, but he's been involved in everybody's camp. So you've probably seen him develop the last year, and you said you have a unique nickname for him in this in your guys' training room.
Yeah, we call him the mousetrap. The mousetrap. We think, if anybody can beat Demetrius Johnson, it's Adriano. Adriano he's so deceiving because he always jokes around, always smiling. Like if somebody walked in and saw him, especially with his hair curly now, it looks like a kid. But he's like in his early 30s, but he looks like a kid, and he's always joking around. He's always smiling, singing and stuff. So if somebody walked in, they would be like, whose son is this? Like whose teenager is this? Like out on the mats. But he's one of the most dangerous people in the gym, and he has some of the best grappling. He's probably the best grappler I've ever grappled against, and he's choked me a couple times. So. Not saying that just because he choked me, he can do that to Demetrius Johnson, but I know he can do that because he's that good.
Yeah, it's gonna. How nervous do you get when you watch guys that you help prepare for fights, fight?
I think I get more nervous, and I guess that's kind of what like coaches feel like, or my wife feels like. She's like super nervous. I guess it's kind of different than the way she feels, but I get really nervous because I can't go in there and help. So I guess anybody that has a close relationship with someone watching them fight, that's the case. You know, coming from my old gym, not many people were as active, so it wasn't that much, you know, of that. But I love it now that every weekend there's somebody that's fighting, multiple people fighting, and I have a close relationship with a lot of people at the gym, and so it makes it more entertaining that you like have a dog in the fight, that you can either you know helped this person train, or you know this person and you talk to them, train with them every day, see them in the gym. So I'm nervous, but I'm super excited for Adrian. I think that obviously this win is huge for anyone, but you know, for Adrian, I know how hard he works. I know how much he sacrificed, you know, to do this. He's been preparing for this fight for like 2 years now straight. So um, I'm excited to watch him.
For sure. Now, going to your fight coming up, the matchup has been switched from Nate Maness to Anthony Birchak. Were you nervous when they told you, like, you know, Maness is out, you know, they're going to have to postpone it, or maybe they're going to have to cancel the fight? Did you know right away that they had a replacement?
So I found out about Manis being like injured, maybe like only it was like not even a whole week, but like almost a week, maybe 5 days or so before they got a new opponent. So it's one of those things where I guess you kind of assume they're gonna get somebody. There's so many fighters, you know, whether it's in the UFC on the roster or people that want to be in the UFC. So, you know, I knew that they would find somebody, but yeah, in the back of your head, you've trained and you want to. It's not that I mold my training for like specific like opponents. You know, you kind of figure out what they do and kind of go from there in your head. But you want to put a face to like what you're doing. So like when I'm doing stuff, you're picturing the face, you're picturing like what their body's gonna look like when you do this and things like that. So when that's gone, it's like it's kind of weird, kind of nervous, not really nervous, but just like wanting to know. So, but luckily, you know, after a couple of days, didn't take too long. They found a replacement. So I'm just happy that I'm still fighting.
Yeah, and you get a more experienced guy, a guy that is a little bit better known in the industry. What differences do you see between these guys?
It's kind of big difference, especially like more specifically physically. The height, I think Manus was like 5'10", which is super tall. You know, I think I've maybe fought people that tall before, but he's really long, more of a striker. I think he might have had some wrestling, but he's more of a striker, want to stand. And you know, now I get a shorter guy, which is still taller than me because I've never been taller than who I'm fighting, but a guy that's not 5'10", and more of a grappler, which is good because I like that because I don't have to, if I decide to engage in striking or grappling, I don't have to chase the person as much, because if that's what they want to do, they'll grab me, and if they grab me, they initiate it. So I like that I don't have to run around the cage and chase. But luckily, the Apex has a smaller cage anyway, so wouldn't have to do too much traveling. But I don't think it's going to be hard to find Birchak. I don't think he's going to run from me. I think we're gonna make contact pretty quick.
You know, when you face a guy, especially in your past, against a guy that's grappling heavy, a guy that's known for submissions, do you feel like when you do go in for takedowns or initiate the grappling, they kind of let you take them down in, you know, that they don't fight as much as certain guys like strikers would?
I think so. I think a lot of times that is the case, and you know, most of the time in my past fights, that's kind of been people's script. Like they're kind of hurt them more than anything, because once I get on top of somebody, I usually stay there for a good amount of time, you know. And I can be, even though I'm not very big for my size, I can be pretty heavy, and I'm pretty strong. I have really good grips. My hands are pretty strong. So, you know, you shoot in and they go for I can't tell you how many times I've been attempted to be guillotined or Kimura, or, you know, like, and especially every day. Like I wish I knew the number, how many times I've been attempted to be guillotined, you know, especially in practice against really tough people. So that's something that I experience every day. I go against some of the best at what they do. Pedro Munhoz has a great guillotine. Kyoji has a great guillotine. Adriano has a great guillotine. And other guys too that have great guillotines and great submissions in general. So this isn't the first time I'm gonna, go against a black belt. I think my last maybe 6 fights have been black belts. And I know every black belt's different. Just because you got a black belt doesn't mean it's as good as any other black belt. But I think that's gonna play into my favor. I'm pretty sure he probably thinks that, if I take him down, that he's gonna just work his wizardry on the ground and get me in something. But I'll be ready for it. I go against people every day that are wizards in jiu-jitsu, and so it's something that I'm used to.
Rodolfo Vieira, he's like this decorated grappler. He's in the UFC, but in his last fight, he was submitted by a guy that's not really known for his grappling at all, man. That was like a shock. Anthony Hernandez, man, he went in there and did his thing and just tapped him out, which was crazy to see. I think a lot of people didn't expect him to ever get submitted.
That fight was crazy. He was so big, and I don't know if it was like the weight cut or the nerves, but I've seen Anthony Hernandez. I've seen him fight for LFA. I've seen him fight for the UFC, and he just goes like his pace is like a lot. He's a fast paced fighter, and he doesn't quit. And I don't. Was it the second round? It was. I guess. I think. Is it Adolfo? Adolfo. And I think the first half of the first round, if I can remember correctly, he was all over him pretty good, and then he just kind of like hit a wall and it went downhill, and it seemed like he probably almost barely made it to the stool, like going into the second. But that was crazy. That was the worst I've ever seen as far as somebody hitting a wall in a fight. And I don't know if it was nerves. I can't speak on it because I wasn't. I'm not close to him or talk to him. So, but that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's just a perfect example of a guy that's extremely decorated in grappling, but when it's an MMA fight, it's another story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's another story. So now let's get into your training. Of course, you're training with Pedro Munhoz, Andre Sukumta. Andre's actually in Singapore with Adriano.
Yeah.
Did he just take him because he needed an Asian representative over there?
I don't know, but I think they might be pretty close too.
Yeah, of course.
Andre's a great partner. Andre's a great guy, and he's a go-to guy. Like if you need somebody, like whether it's like a training partner or if I called him and was like, "Hey Andre, like my tire's flat, can you come get me?" He would. Yeah, he's just one of those kinds of guys, But they're pretty close too. But I'm not sure. but I'm sure he's been helping a lot too, like leading up to it. So they have a good personal relationship too.
Yeah, I've spoken to both guys multiple times, and both guys are so nice. I could see why they're friends. I could see why they're close. They're both really nice dudes. And they're killers at the same time. So with you and your training, are those the guys? Like, are those the two main guys? Do you have any other guys that you've been working closely with?
I've got, hold on. I made a list just to make sure, because everybody at my weight class, 125 and 135, there are so many really good fighters, high level fighters from all the promotions. Pretty much like every promotion, big promotion, we have like titles in, except for like the UFC. I think that's the only one in the lower weight, so we don't have title for. And we have title challengers, for that. But I work with Kyoji a lot. I went with Kyoji a lot today. I worked with Pedro leading up to his fight. And Kyoji leading up to his fight as well in New Year's. Worked with Adriano, Alessandro Pantoja. I work with him a good amount. We do a lot of drilling together and spar together sometimes. So Ricky Bandejas, Jussier Formiga, he's also another phenomenal grappler. I think he and Adriano are the two best, at least the smaller guys. I don't go with the bigger guys. So I don't really, and I can't really see them grapple because I'm grappling at the same time. But two of the best grapplers in the gym. Andre's helped me. And some guys that like people don't know a lot about, like Sal Guerrero, Juan Puerta, who should be in a big show. He's got his record's bigger than mine now. He's like 21-6 and still hasn't been signed to a big show, which is crazy. Danny Sabatello, Sal Guerrero, a lot of people. I could sit here and name like every fighter from 125, 135, and I mix up with everybody because that's how you get diverse in your skills. If you go with the same person, even if I'm with the same really good person all the time, it's I'm getting better, and I'm also getting better on how to defend against this person. And now, it's not the same as me going with all of these different people, but I try to go with everybody, and got a pretty big list of partners that I go with.
It's fair to say that you've probably been preparing for a submission guy for the last year. You just didn't really think about it, right?
Yeah. Everybody that I go with is a phenomenal grappler, and they're all black belts. I don't have a black belt. If wrestling had belts, I'd be a black belt in wrestling. But wrestling now have belts. But yeah, everybody I go with is phenomenal. So when I think about these fights and good grapplers, it's like, all right, I see this every day. Not to take anything away from him. I know he's a good grappler, but I don't think he's better than the guys that I'm training with on a daily basis.
So do you expect Birchak to come out with urgency? Because this is his second run into UFC. He lost the first fight and wanting to trade on the feet, or do you see him saying like, "Oh, I got to go to the ground immediately with this guy"?
I think that, this is how it always is. Everybody just thinks that I'm like horrible on the feet, like they're gonna come out and just like starch me, or they're gonna rock me. I feel like that's what he thinks is gonna happen. He thinks his striking levels are way above mine, which everybody that I fight, thinks that. And it's not that my striking is bad. I just know that wrestling and grappling is where I'm the best, and if you have a significant advantage somewhere, then why not use it, But I think he probably thinks that he's a better striker, and he probably thinks he's a better grappler. He may even think he's a better wrestler. I don't know. I think he might have some wrestling background too. So it's really hard. It's hard to see where he wants to take it. But in my mind, it doesn't matter because it's going to go where I want to take it. I think I'm me being the better wrestler. I can dictate whether we want to stay on the feet or we want to go on the ground. Doesn't matter. But it's on me. So wherever it goes, though, I'm confident, and I think that I'm better. Doesn't matter where it goes.
Do you want to submit the submission guy? Because I would think that was kind of like a goal, sometimes when you enter a fight.
That would be really good, but I like punching people in the face, but I'll take what I can get,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would that would be cool, submitting a black belt and the guy that is the submission guy, but it also feels really good to knock somebody out. That feeling, what that feels like to like hit another guy and like either put them to sleep completely or just beat them so much to where they're like they don't want anymore. It's a good feeling. It sounds really barbaric, but I'm a fighter, so I can get away with it. But yeah, I would like to beat him up with my hands, but if an opportunity presents itself and I can snatch his neck up or an arm, I'll take it.
April 17th, man, you get your chance. UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Thank you, Tony, for the time, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, buddy.